Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of One on One. I'm your host, Hannah Balkowski. Today, we are joined with Dean Welsh, who graduated in 2016 and works as a video editor at Glass Entertainment Group. Dean, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you work as a video editor with Glass Entertainment Group. What's a day in the life like for you?
I wake up, I log in. Usually I'll check in with the producer. So I'll have producers that I work with kind of as part of the team. The producer essentially, like I have the story producers, they also work in post-production. So people will shoot. The assistant editors will sync everything up and ingest everything. The story producer will then take that hours of footage and kind of cut it down for content and make a really rough string, no B-roll, jump cuts everywhere, just for content, basically. So whatever words are being said. And then I'll come in as the editor and basically make that a show, like clean it up, add music, pacing, no jump cuts, B-roll, and all that stuff. So, I mean, typical days, I'll get a new scene and, edit it, clean up that stuff. And then if it's done that day, then I'll send it out and let everybody know it's done and whatever. So, yeah.
Okay. And what type of projects do you usually work on? Like shows, documentaries?
Well, I'm working on shows now. I was before, just to give you like a trajectory sort of like how an editor, I guess, would get to this spot. But I started as an intern, assistant editor. And then when I started editing, it was kind of more like smaller stuff like casting and development things. So with casting, it would be similar to this, kind of like a Zoom interview. We would record it and cut that down to then sort of like prove to networks that this could be a show, when you're casting people. But now I work on the shows that our company does, which is mainly reality TV. Right now I'm working on a show for Magnolia Network, which is Chip and Joanna Gaines from HGTV. They kind of split and did their own network. It's still home improvement stuff. I've also done things for true crime. I mean, there's documentaries too. It's mostly reality type stuff though. So things like that. I guess I can give you more examples, but.
Yeah, okay. And so, like, speaking of like a timeline kind of thing, how long does it typically take to, finish editing a show?
I guess from start to finish, it depends on the show. So I guess it depends on if it's a half hour, an hour show too. And it depends too, I think, if it's a new show. So, I mean, season ones might take a little bit longer in the first few episodes, just because like you're kind of working off the kinks and like figuring out what the feel of the show is. And, a show, I guess that's in its like, fourth, fifth season, a little bit more tight. Everyone knows they're shooting, everyone knows they're editing. It's kind of quicker. I don't know. I mean, I'm on this show for 12 weeks. I'm going to be on this show for like 3 months and I'm going to work on 2 episodes. So
Okay.
I'm polishing other episodes too, but like I'm finishing, I guess, myself from start to finish that many. So it's a
Okay.
process. And the process is basically maybe a few weeks of notes internally. And then we send the rough cut to the network. That's the first cut. We'll get notes back on that. And then we'll send it back with their notes done. That's the fine cut. And then at that point, they can have some tweak notes. And then we'll start locking it, coloring, and mixing the audio. And other people will do that. Those are other jobs. And then mastering. So, I mean, the job as an offline editor could be maybe a month plus on a show. But then other people will come in. So you'll have another mixer for Pro Tools that will mix the audio and make audio files. The online editor will color, and then they'll kind of like make sure all the graphics are correct and just the shows, each episode kind of feels the same way and the graphics match and timing of things and just kind of like finish it,
Yeah, to like finalize it.
Each episode too will have different editors as well because it's a very tight schedule and stuff. So it's not just one editor for the whole show. The online editor will kind of help make sure that, and the executive producer as well on the show will kind of just make sure that, all the episodes kind of flow and that they're fitting the right style and feel and whatever's on screen and all that stuff.
Right. So do you basically just kind of like work alone, or do you also have other people that you collaborate with other than like, the director and things like that?
It would be both. I mean, the majority of my day is alone, but I'm still working as a team with people. So like for instance, this morning I had we sent in a rough cut the other day for one of our shows. It's called Rental Redo. And the network executive gave us the notes back. So this morning I met with my team of the executive producer and the story producer that's on my episode with me, to just kind of game plan, what the notes are. So to answer your question, I'm 100% part of the team. And that's always how you should look at it, because not one person makes this stuff. It's a lot of people. It's an ensemble. So, but that being said, day to day, I'm kind of just coming in and logging in and doing my thing, and most of my work is in the program, on my own personal computer. There will be times where maybe I'll, let a producer know, like, hey, I'm thinking about this. Let me show you something. Back in the day before COVID, we would be in a room together and I'd play it on the screen and they'd see it as I'm cutting. But now we would be in a Teams meeting or Zoom, and I would share my screen, and then they'd see my edit screen and I'd show them stuff. They'd whatever, collaborate. So.
Okay. So have you had a favorite project that you've worked on? One with this company or one before that?
That's a good question.
I'm sure there's lots to choose.
Okay, so like the wildest one was this show called Adult Adoptions. And that one was something I casted, which is actually way more fun than doing the show, I think, at least for that one, because basically the idea was like, find the wildest stuff, out there, find the wildest people. And that can be kind of fun. So, I mean, we were kind of delving into the adult adoption space. And by the way, adults can adopt other adults. And most of the time it's very normal. And it's just people that are like, know each other, and maybe they grew up with them and they were actually like their parent figure or whatever. And now they want to make it official. And it's like all nice and good. But, our job to cast for these reality shows is to find the craziest stuff, to find what's worth putting on TV, So that one was kind of wild. I won't get into details. More recently, I had fun working on a true crime show, though. I think as an editor, those shows take a lot of work, and you have a lot of play as an editor because you're the one creating the vibe with the music, the sound effects. It's a lot, Your timeline at the end is like full of stuff, so like you have a lot to say as an editor with that, I guess, with the feel. So like I had fun with that. And I'm also a musician too, so I really like editing the music of shows and making it like hit right when cuts happen and all that stuff. And I think the true crime feel was like a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, that's probably the best part of editing, when you match it with the sound. It's like, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something I love about editing is like, probably just the creativity you get to put into it. And then, you come out on the end and you've created something. Why did you have a passion for video editing?
To be honest with you, I don't know that I had a giant passion. I mean, when I was at LaSalle, I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think people go through their entire lives without really knowing what you want to do for the rest of your life. I mean, that's a crazy thing to answer. So I liked editing though at school, and I decided to take an internship at this company because someone I knew from another internship, his wife was an editor here, still is. And so I met her and she's like, oh, we'll give you an internship. And I was like, yeah, editing sounds cool. And then when I got there, I just learned so much about Avid, which is the software that we use, not Final Cut or Premiere. And I don't know, I guess I just really like the environment mostly. I guess when I found out that like this is kind of where I'm at and like I like it, is when I started to get to know my coworkers and understand understand that I don't know, everyone has like a similar mindset, and even like politically and all that stuff. And I kind of just really appreciate that everyone knows like a work-life balance and understands that, yeah, you get your stuff done, but we're just doing this as a job as well. We do like it, and it is a lot of fun, and we love what we do. but I think we're getting a lot better at kind of making it just a part of our life.
Yeah.
Not the whole thing. I actually thought of another answer for the last one too. Best thing I worked on was for MTV actually. So I worked on something called My Life on MTV, and it was an international show actually. It wasn't it was airing here, but it was elsewhere too. And it was basically just like quick segments. It was a half-hour show, but it showcased two artists. And the artist that I was showcasing was Snoop Dogg. And so I actually ended up story producing and editing that. So I basically watched every single time that Snoop Dogg was on MTV in his entire career, like even the newer stuff. And it took weeks. I mean, it took a very long time to dwindle everything down. I mean, you use live performances, you use music videos and interviews and whatever. And it's like mainly just whatever was on TV. And like, that's all the footage we used. We didn't shoot anything new. It was all just older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot of time, but that was a lot of fun. And especially as someone who, like I said, like tries to like work around music, that was great because I was able to use music that was real and like in the world, like dog music instead of, regular just background stuff that you try to make sound good, but no one really knows it. That's what's fun about sizzles too, because in a sizzle, which is what you would do to try to develop a show and show a network, you can use whatever music you want because it's not airing on television. So that's fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so at LaSalle, were you in part of anything in the communication department that helped you kind of gear you towards video editing?
Well, I did take an editing class, and I think that one was like somewhat new at the time. I'm sure it's a lot different now.
Mm-hmm.
With editing specifically, no. I feel like it's as much as you want it to be. I mean, when you have a group project and if you want to sit in the edit bay and you really want to like learn stuff and get to know how to do it, that'll be on you,
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes other people aren't as into editing too. So like in a group project, that can be tough.
At LaSalle, the communication professors, they teach a lot of different, useful things that I feel like will help me in my future career. What is the most important thing that you learned in any of your classes or from any professors that you kind of use in life or in your job today?
Yeah, I would say the communication classes that aren't media based actually were really great. And I think the media people don't really maybe appreciate it as much in the moment. They're just like, oh, I just got to take these classes and it's stupid. But communication is important no matter what you do. And I work with the team and communicating clearly, whether you're typing it out or whether you're in person talking or whatever, like it's very important. And even if you don't talk, you're still communicating. You make a face. The fact that you don't answer is communicating something. So, I think always being careful of how you are perceived and how you're perceiving others based on that was pretty key. And that was due to those kind of classes more than the media ones. Yeah. Which is important for everybody.
Yeah, like the interpersonal communication classes. Yeah, I find those to be really impactful too, because it's not just something that can help you like in your job. Like it's not like putting you in a box kind of. It's something that you use every day with like everybody. So I agree. Those are probably the most useful.
Good life lessons for sure.
Exactly. Do you have any future plans or projects coming up?
Well, finishing this show, I guess, is my future plan or project, and then seeing what's next. I don't always know what I'm working on. Like sometimes next week or someone else that some other producer is like, hey, here I have you next week. And I'm like, cool, I guess I'll worry about it then,
Yeah.
Just it's fun. What am I looking forward to? Time off and enjoying life too. I love my job, I really do, but I'm not really quite sure what I'm looking forward to. I'm doing it all right now.
Yeah. So you said you're interested in music and what instruments do you play?
I play drums mainly and bass, kind of a rhythm stuff. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Do you think you could, I don't know, someday do something with audio and like being the person who, does the sounds for?
Well, actually, I've been on set before too. So I over the years, not so much anymore because I'm like full on editing. But when I was in AE and kind of transitioning a little bit, I just wanted to learn as much as possible. And I wanted to be on sets because like that just seems cool. And I wanted to learn more about that and kind of like, I mean, I think it's just important to get it all because, like I said, you never really know what you want to do all the
Hmm.
time. And also, like, the office just gets sometimes like, I got to get out of here, you know? So put me on a shoot, you know, and teach me something. So I ended up learning how to be an audio person on set, an audio mixer. So I would be miking up people, putting the lavs on them and
Hmm.
on their belts, whatever, and wireless. And then I have this big heavy bag on me and I've got the headphones and whatever. So that was cool. I mean, it's not music based, but it's audio. So yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, I definitely have a little bit more know-how of audio in comparison to other editors because of my experience like that. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. The audio board at the TV studio at LaSalle always scares me because if you like mute someone's microphone, you're like, oh,
Yep, that's all you got.
yeah,
Yep,
that's it.
that's it. Well, what's important if you're on a shoot doing this kind of stuff? I mean, even if you're just a producer and you see your audio person doing what they're doing, I mean, it's not just a lav. They should have a
Mhm.
boom. They should have multiple things because if that lav goes out, it's wireless. You never know. The battery goes out, or maybe they just like move their shirt and you can't use that. You know. So
Right.
hopefully someone's near them with another lav, but in reality, your audio person or someone who's the boom operator should have a backup somewhere
Yeah.
around there. Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably put that in our studio too. We should
That
use
was nice
those.
actually to install some mics. I mean that yeah,
Yeah.
that was doable to be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe that's what we'll do this coming semester.
Tell Tanya that Dean said you should do it. What she says. She'll probably say some some bad words.
So bad. She would never. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
she would never. If you bring up my name, I'm sure.
So I guess the last thing I want to ask is, do you have any advice for any students or future students who are studying communication that have an interest in video editing? You know, what to look for, how to get started, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone says it, but internships are so important. Obviously, take the editing classes or whatever editing assignments you have in school right now very seriously and look stuff up. You know, if you have a question and you're the one in the room by yourself or whatever, and you're with a group and you're not in the class to ask a teacher, like just Google it because it's out there. There's someone making a video about how to do something. Just the other day, me as a professional had to look up basically how to fake a shot from I wanted a night to day time lapse because we were kind of resetting after one scene into the next, but we weren't changing locations. So I was like, okay, I have to make it feel like it's a new day, you know, and we're starting over. They're wearing different clothes, even though they're in the same house. So I was like, okay, I need a time lapse from day to night or night to day. And we didn't shoot it. So at this point, I have a time lapse that's just during the day. So I had to Google like, hey, what effects can I use to make this look like like nighttime, so that I can just make a transition and have it blend into being bright. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid, just like look it up, you know, and take your time, watch the 5 minute video that it is, and just really take it all in. And and internships extremely key. And when you're in the internship, make sure that people know what you want to do. If you want to be an editor, just say it. They'll probably be happy because like, oh, now I know what you want. Now I know what you want to do and where I can put you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just constantly communicate with people and be honest.
Yeah. I
That's
was I was asking someone, some of their advice, and they were like, just communicate. I'm like, isn't that funny? Like we're all in communications, and that's as simple as it is.
everything. Yeah, with even your love relationships, communicate, right? That's all
Hmm.
it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here.
Me too. I appreciate being here too. Let me know if you want me again. I'll be around.
That's it for this video. I'm your host, Hannah Balkovsky, and we'll see you next time.